Welcome to LocalPaper TV. And again, we have a special guest, Walter Stragan. He's the Pauline Hanson One Nation candidate for the division of Melbourne. And Walter's been giving us his observations of what's been happening in the election campaign since it was declared open. Hello, Walter.
Hello, Ash. Nice to be with you again.
Excellent. Walter, pre-poll voting has commenced. Have you been at the polling booths? Have people been?
Oh, look, I've been both at Abbotsford and Jeff Shed in South Bank, and I just can't believe how One Nation is being attacked by the socialists, especially the socialists in two locations, Jeff Shed and also at Abbotsford, that the Australian Electoral Commission supervisors have to go outside in Collingwood, Masonic Hall, and warn the socialists to behave themselves. There was one outburst one more time, and they'll be asked to leave. There has also been other electoral polling stations that I've heard all around Melbourne, Ash, that the candidates of One Nation have been targeted that severely that they haven't even been spat on.
Yeah.
And that is, look, you're there to do a job. Volunteers are volunteers. Let them do their job. This is outrageous what's happening out there. You know, what is this, a communist, socialist country?
Walter, what are people telling you at the polling booths? What are the issues that they're wanting to know answers from you about?
Well, basically, they're saying, you know, I've met with a lot of retirees and a lot of people that have been affected, especially small business and pensioners. They're saying, well, what's the government going to do? What are they going to? How are they look after our pensioners? How are they going to look after me? You know, the cost of living's going up. What are they going to do? And what I've given them, I've given One Nation, Pauline Hanson One Nation policies as a handout. And I said, geez, I even had a father attended, and he goes to me, One Nation is the only party that supports dads and mums in distress when they're going through a divorce and separation to get child custody visitation rights. I met with one of the organisers last night in East Melbourne, that basically he's the organiser, Phil, from Dads in Distress, and he actually invited me to the meeting. I could not believe what I heard, what is happening, especially with the courts, when the father tries to obtain custody or even visitation rights, so he can see his 2-year-old child. You know, you should not use a child as a tool in a divorce or separation. I've been there and I've experienced firsthand.
Walter, you are standing as a One Nation candidate for inner city seat, Melbourne, and some of the inner city suburbs. What can you do about it if you are elected? What can you do about it if One Nation is elected?
Well, there's a lot of issues to address, and one of them that I will strongly advocate for is fairness for both the mother and the father. Secondly, look after the pensioners. They have worked all their lives. They have retired. They've paid their taxes. Now, I've got another 7 more years until I retire. You know, I know I won't get the pension, but people who've come to this country 30, 40 years ago, they have worked their backsides. They've paid their taxes. To be put on a scrap heap, should I use those words, and not looked after, while our politicians, when they retire, they have a massive pension to collect. Fairness is what Pauline Hanson One Nation stands for. Equality is the second one.
Walter, you've spoken with lots of people during the election campaign, And I understand one mother came to you about a worry with a school in the electorate. Could you tell us a little bit about that, please?
This was when there was an outing in Docklands for the kids. They did an outing about 3-4 weeks ago. They had rides, they had slides, and that went through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. My team and myself campaigned in that area, Docklands, and a mother came up to me and said, "Yes, sir, you're running for One Nation, like all the other parties for their respective parties. What can One Nation do? Can they stop this promotion and this construction of a 3-toilet in a school?" I was shocked to hear. I said, "Well, what do you mean 3 toilets?" "Well, there's a him, there's a her, and there's a they." My daughter came to me when I picked her up from school. She's 8 years old. She stayed. And she stated to the mother, "Oh, Mummy, you know I've been told by my teacher that I can be 3 days a girl, 3 days a boy, and 1 day I can be whatever I want to be." The mother went the next day, pulled her child out of school, and she's doing homeschooling. What the adults do, and this is a message to the Greens. Make no mistake, I am an outspoken candidate and I speak my mind. Whatever the adults do in their bedroom remains there. Do not advertise the mutilation of organs and transfer them to the other person, female or male. Do not brainwash our kids at an early stage of 8 years old and onwards. Our kids have not grown up yet. Our kids have not even gone through what is called puberty. I hope the Greens understand what the meaning of puberty is and what the meaning of a male and female is. You should be ashamed of yourself, the Greens, in trying to bring in a system in a primary school. Totally, utterly pathetic. Advertise it after the age of 18. Do not promote it to young kids and brainwash them. That's all I've got to say.
There were a lot of hot issues during this election campaign, and you're hearing about a lot of them from electors. One of the things I understand that you're hearing a lot about is the concern about voters, about the sale of assets, sale of water rights, sale of housing to overseas interests. Could you tell us how you feel?
Well, 20% of our water is owned by overseas high wealthy consortiums. Our properties are owned, a lot of it in Australia, by overseas ownership. They wouldn't even know what an apartment, a block of flats look like. They just pay the money. This has to stop. We are not selling our soul to the overseas hierarchy and the elite, as they are called. Mr. Schwab, as you probably know, he's trying to obtain everything. I think he's about 74 years old. And his consortium, Bill Gates, trying to buy out everything. Our soul, Mr. Gates, you cannot buy. So get out of the country and stop buying assets in Australia. Go to where you belong and live there. Leave the Australian people alone. Leave us alone. I can just imagine if there is ever a war in Australia, the first people that will go and take a one-way ticket is the Greens, Liberal and Labor. So who's going to protect the Australian people. Pauline Hanson will, because she says the truth. And I support Pauline Hanson, and that's who I'm running for. Whoever wants to vote the three major parties in, God help you what the consequences will be.
Walter, you're standing as the One Nation candidate for the division of Melbourne, and it's going to be a busy week and extra few days coming up to the federal election. What are you noticing at the polling booths?
I'm noticing at a lot of the polling booths that there's a lot of anger from the Socialists and Labor Party that they use obscene language to other candidates, volunteers. I dread if there is no police presence on the day of the election, because it will get ugly on the day of the election. That's a concern. Look, everybody's got a right to vote, Ash. That can't be taken from them. But the volunteers from all parties, including One Nation, please be civil to each other. Please do not act as morons and try to move your muscle around. That's not the Australian way. And if the police have to be present, which is Operation Wilmot, they will be present on the day of the election, which is the Australian Federal Police. I hope we're all human and sensible and take the Australian way, the democracy way, and think before we open our mouths to the other volunteers that are donating their time to their party. Please be civil. Ash, so that's...
Thank you very much, Walter. Over the election campaign, we've been speaking with Walter Stragan. And Walter, I wonder next week if we could have one final chat in the final days leading up to voting day.
Yes, I will have great pleasure in meeting up with you, Ash, next week, as it is the final, like you said, the final meeting.
Yep.
And, you know, the final week of campaigning and pre-polling.
Thank you. Walter,
Thank you very much.
We've been speaking with Walter Stragan. He's the Pauline Hanson One Nation candidate for the division of Melbourne, and we'll speak with him again next week as well. Thanks for watching.